Yeah, what's cracking, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Prison Break Raw. I'm your host, the one and only Big JD. Is Gavin Newsom out of control in the state of California? For those of you that don't know, he is the current governor there, and he's probably the most progressive governor that's ever entered that office. I mean, considering that California is a pretty progressive state in itself, it doesn't really reflect that in previous governors. You had Jerry Brown, who was not really a progressive. I don't care what you say. I was there when he was the governor. I was locked up when he was the governor. I was living in that state. Wasn't as progressive as you think. Neither was Arnold Schwarzenegger. Neither was Gray Davis before him. Neither was Pete Wilson, Duke Majan, and Jerry Brown before that. I mean, their legislative body and a lot of state assembly positions and state senators and shit may be very progressive, but the governor has always been not so much. But this guy right here, straight up out of San Francisco, and he's about as progressive as you can get, and he's making a lot of controversial decisions that is rubbing a lot of people wrong. Mainly people from outside of the state, which I really don't understand why they really care. But we'll get into all that since Cali is my home state and I still love it to death. However, can't really live there because just not really what I'm looking to get involved in, paying a whole bunch of taxes and shit like that I really don't feel that the government deserves. But yes, what is his latest as far as controversial decisions that he's making, namely involving the prison system itself? Now, I got some mixed feelings about some of these decisions that he's putting out there. The one that I applauded him on was the fact that inmate firefighters could now become a part of the fire department directly out of prison, which is something that's nobody else in that state has ever done. That's a thumbs up. But now he's talking about transgender people that are in the prison system itself. Where would you house them? And according to him, it would be whatever you identify as, that's where you'll be housed. This is a controversial decision. This right here has a whole lot of possibility for danger and assault and everything else. So let's go ahead and explore this a little bit. Let's take a look at what he's talking about. So basically what he's saying is if you identify as a trans person, as a non-binary, binary, fluid, this, that, and the third, so many fucking labels, so many identities, I can't keep up with all of them. And I used to work in a very progressive restaurant service industry where it was a headache every single day wondering, how do I address this person that's in front of me? Do I say sir? Do I say ma'am? Do I say miss? Do I say she, he, that, or this? I mean, personally, I really don't care what you identify yourself as. Being libertarian that I am, being open-minded, being objective and all. If you want to identify as a fucking farm animal, that's your right. You want to identify as a Martian, a rock, a tree, I don't really care. However, in a situation like this, you have to wonder, does it open the door for a whole lot of kind of like fraud or deception? I mean, let's face it, people aren't in prison for being good people, okay? Now, this is where I'm at odds with a lot of people in the criminal justice reform world. They don't like how I look at people that are in prison because I know them for what they are. You probably have about 2 or 3% of the prison population that's probably innocent. But however, that comes with a little catch that I attach onto it. You may not have been caught for that crime, but I can guarantee you there's a whole bunch of crimes behind you that you didn't get caught, that you should have gotten caught for and didn't. That one you might have got framed on, but that's the way that karma pays its bills. You know what I mean? That's the way karma will come and get its payment from your flesh, locking you down. It's the way it is. I got framed for a couple of cases myself, but you know what? There's a lot of cases behind me that I didn't get caught for, so I guess I can count my blessings, right? But most people that are in prison, they will look for any little thing, the minutest little thing, loophole that they can get through in order to get over on you. It's just the way it is. It's why a lot of people tell me about the Norwegian prison system. This is how we should have our prisons. And I tell them all the time it would never work in this country because the Norwegian mindset is way different than the American mindset. You got gangs, you got everybody's on some kind of drug, everybody's looking to become an opportunist and take advantage of the situation all the way to the point to where they just fuck up a dream. Look at the weight pile, look at TVs, look at home packages, family visits, all that. People had abused those privileges to the point to where they lost them. And there was several years in the California prison system where we couldn't take yard photos anymore. I mean, you've seen them all. You know, everybody standing there looking all tough all the time. We used to be able to take those photos on the yard all the time. But somebody made an ID with one, and they escaped out of one of them places. Bye-bye yard photos. Same thing with the Levi's and everything else. Somebody used a pair of Levi's and regular shirts and all that shit to get out of one of them places. And the rest is history. They take it. People think they just want to take that shit for no reason, but every time they take something from the California Department of Corrections and Humiliation prison yards, it's because the people fucked it up in the first place. That's why all that shit's gone. The smoking, at one point when it finally was a state law or a federal law that you can't smoke inside of a federal or state building, they told everybody, we'll take your tobacco if you keep smoking in there. They kept smoking in there, they took the tobacco. It's as simple as that. This is how the shit works. So I look at this as the same way, right? There is an opportunity for somebody to abuse and work the system into getting into one of these places and wreak a whole lot of havoc. I mean, quite simply, you could just go in there with this new bill. Me, myself, I can walk right up into the reception center at Wasco, Delano, whatever reception they send me to, Chino. They ask me, what do you identify as? Well, I'm a woman. Yeah, I'm a woman. Really? Yeah, I'm definitely a woman. So I guess you got to send me over there to CIW right now then, right? You see what I mean? Next thing you know, I'm moving around in the female yard. A lot of people think that I'm going to be the one that's preying on the women there. Don't you understand that I could be the one that could possibly get raped? I mean, some of them women are brutal, man. I bet you many of you don't know that at one point in time, the CRC, the California Rehabilitation Center in Norco, California, when it had its in numbers and it had its drug program, there was a lot of things that were kind of like co-ed. I mean, they weren't living together, but it was co-ed as far as certain programs. I mean, they would work in close proximity to each other. The one that I seen that closely resembled that was over there at the James A. Music Farm in Irvine, California. I was there one time. I got a chance to work in the kitchen. It was female and male inmates that worked in that kitchen together on the West Compound. Yeah. Well, I got some stories about that place, I could tell you. I was in there for about 4 months, and I had the time of my life, I gotta tell you. But anyways, in Norco, they used to have a swimming pool. One time, a guy, he snuck out, a young dude, thought he was gonna go and play with the chicks, went down there to mess around with some girl that he was talking to on the low through the halls, whatnot, whispering over the fence. But when he found himself down there with all them women, he quickly learned that he was in trouble. They beat his ass, beat him to a pulp. They held him down and they all raped the dude. And when he couldn't get his dick up anymore, they tied pencils around his dick to keep it up. This is a true story. So don't think just because a man identifies as a woman and he's going to go into the woman's prison that he's going to be the one preying on him. There's some real bad fucking mamma jammas in them prisons. Some real bad broads, man. Some real tough ones, too. I don't know if you've watched any of the Scared Straight, but I remember seeing one on there and her name was Pretty Boy. Yeah, pretty scary broad, man. A lot of them walking around bald heads. Some of them are bigger than some dudes. Yeah, so just, you got to look at it both ways. But what would happen if, let's say, for example, a trans man. So now a trans man is a woman that is transitioning into a man or identifies as a man, goes into the California Department of Corrections and Rehumiliation on a man yard. Let's say that this trans man touches down at, I don't know, New Folsom or Salinas Valley or Centinela or someplace like that. What would happen to this person? Now, I've seen some trans men. I've actually seen a trans man boxer with a full beard, bigger beard than I can grow. It's pretty crazy looking, but yes. A man walking into the prison, got a full beard, taking a shower with you. You look down, because you remember we talked about the Peter gazers in the shower. Everybody takes a peek. You peek down, and you see a garage. You don't see a sausage. You don't see an acorn. You don't see a German helmet. Just nothing. Wow. So, what would happen to somebody like that? Would somebody like that get raped? Well, I don't really know if that would happen on a GP yard because, you know, that kind of shit, raping and sexually assaulting people don't fly on a GP yard. However, I can assume or I can imagine that on the S&Y yard they would have a field day with this motherfucker. Because they don't give a fuck if people are raping each other on those yards. I mean, it's full of rapists and chomos anyways. I don't care what they tell you. So if you drop a trans man on one of those yards, I can imagine that it would probably cause a lot of problems. So at the end of the day, I would have to say that this is probably going to be a bad idea that they're going to regret in the long run. However, they're going to do it anyways, and all we could do is just sit back with our bowl of popcorn and watch it unfold, watch it transpire, check out what happens, and just wait for the repercussions to happen in the lawsuits and everything else when something bad happens to one of them. Because it's a double-edged sword for this government when they do this. You got to be willing to accept the consequences for your actions. And for the most part, a lot of the actions of the California government in itself, the state government, is reaping the payoffs or paybacks from a lot of its bad decisions because people are running out of that state in droves, man. It's like a great exodus out of that place, and they're going everywhere. That's why Texas is starting to turn a lot bluer, because more liberals and progressives from California are moving to Texas, and they're reshaping the whole political landscape in that state itself. A lot of them are actually moving here to Oklahoma. That's why I can't wait to hurry up and buy some property, because it's going to be worth probably 10 times the amount 20 years from now, because at some point in time, ain't nobody going to live in California except for homeless people and people incarcerated. So this one right here, I look at it as it's a bad idea, even though, like I said, I'm open-minded and I respect whatever identity that you choose to identify yourself at. It's just my way of thinking, my mindset. I respect anybody's religious viewpoints, sexual orientation, identities, whatnot. Doesn't matter to me and don't give a fuck to me. As long as you don't affect my life or my family's life, you can do whatever the fuck you want. But in this one right here, I gotta tell you, it opens the door for a whole lot of problems that I don't think anybody is willing to explore. However, they're going to do it anyways. All we could do is just, like I said, sit back and watch it unfold. But I got to tell you, this Gavin Newsom dude, he's a fucking definitely a different kind of breed, I got to tell you. And I don't know if California will continue to vote in people like him. But nevertheless, he's there for another, 3 years, 2 years? We'll see what the voters say down the road. But like I said, they're all pretty much locked into this agenda in California. They're willing to sink the ship. They're sinking the ship. And I got to tell you, it would take a lot for me to want to move back to that because of the taxes and everything that's going on there. Other than that, I miss the state tremendously. But these kind of things right here, I don't really miss, because it's just weird. But who am I, right? But yes, that's my take on it. I think it's a bad idea. I think it opens up the door for a lot of bad shit to happen. I mean, what could possibly go wrong? I mean, we're dealing with criminals here, right? You know? And like I said, they're not in there for being the greatest people in the world, and most of them are opportunists, and they will look for any little advantage to basically take advantage of, just completely tear down the hustle and fuck up a good dream, fuck up a good thing. I've seen it, and they're going to do it here, and somebody's going to get hurt, and they're going to wish they never did it. You already know what it is. You heard it right here. Prison Break Raw, uncut, uncensored, no hold barred, not sugarcoat, not politically correct, all up in your face, slapping you with that dick of reality. and I'm out.